All right, welcome. Today, we're jumping back in time all the way to the very beginning of India's republic to tackle a huge constitutional puzzle. This is a story about a clash between the rights of the people and the power of parliament, a showdown that honestly shaped Indian democracy for decades.
So, let me start with a big question for you. Can your most fundamental rights, the ones you think are set in stone, can they actually be rewritten? Just think about that. The rights that are supposed to be the absolute bedrock of your freedom, can the government just come in and change them?
You see, this question gets right to the heart of a paradox that's baked directly into the Indian Constitution. On one hand, it gives citizens rights that are supposed to be unbreakable. But on the other hand, it gives Parliament the power to change the Constitution itself. So, what happens when the power to change the rules runs headlong into the rights that are supposed to be protected from those very rules? To really wrap our heads around this, we need to look at three key pieces of this constitutional puzzle. Think of them as the core moving parts in a machine that almost seems designed to create this exact conflict. Okay, first up, we have part 3 of the Constitution, the fundamental rights. These are your basic human freedoms, things like equality and freedom of speech, and they're guaranteed to every single citizen. The idea was for these to be the sacred, protected foundation of Indian democracy. Now, for piece number 2, Article 368. This one's the powerhouse. It gives Parliament this incredible power to amend the Constitution. And by amend, I mean it can add, change, or even completely repeal any part of it. You can already feel the tension building, right? How can you have unbreakable rights sitting next to a power that can change literally anything? And that brings us to our final piece, the real twist in the puzzle. Article 13, Clause 2. This article is supposed to be the shield, the limiter. It says very clearly that the government cannot make any law that takes away or hurts your fundamental rights. So you've got this unstoppable force in Article 368, meeting what looks like an immovable object in Article 13. Which one gives? Well, this wasn't just some theoretical debate for law school. Not at all. In 1951, just 1 year after the Constitution was adopted, this whole puzzle landed with a thud right in front of the Supreme Court in a massive showdown. So here's what went down. The new government was pushing for urgent land reforms to deal with some really deep inequality. And to do that, they passed the very first amendment to the Constitution. But this amendment affected property rights, and it was challenged immediately. The core question was simple, but it was profound. Did Parliament's power to amend the Constitution override the rule that said you can't make a law that hurts fundamental rights? And this is the case that set the stage for everything that followed, Shankari Prasad versus the Union of India, 1951. It was the very first major constitutional battle. So the ball was in the Supreme Court's court. How did they solve it? I mean, their decision was going to define the balance of power between the people and Parliament for a very, very long time. The way the court solved this puzzle came down to making a really crucial distinction. They said that the word law in Article 13, the article protecting our rights, that word only means ordinary laws, the kind passed by a simple majority. But a constitutional amendment, that's something totally different, something way more powerful. They called it an exercise of constituent power, basically the power to remake the very foundation of the nation. So they concluded an amendment just isn't a law in the way Article 13 means it. And once they made that distinction, their conclusion was pretty direct. The court declared, and this is a direct quote from the judgment, the power to amend the Constitution under Article 368 includes the power to amend fundamental rights. So there it is. The verdict was clear. That shield in Article 13, the one that protects fundamental rights from bad laws, it has no effect on constitutional amendments made under Article 368. The puzzle, for now, was solved. Parliament had the power. But this decision in 1951, well, it was far from the final word on the matter. It set a landmark precedent that would cast a really long shadow over Indian law for years and years to come. If you take one thing away from this, it's this. The Shankari Prasad case established Parliament's supreme and what seemed to be unlimited power to amend any part of the Constitution. And yes, that included the most sacred part, the fundamental rights. And the ripple effect was immediate. It confirmed Parliament's authority over fundamental rights, and it made their amendment powers seem totally absolute. But what's really crucial here is that this decision didn't end the debate. Oh no, it really just started it. It set the stage for decades of future court cases that would come back and push against this very idea. So we end up where we began, but now with a much clearer picture of the stakes. Back in 1951, the court gave a very clear answer, but it leaves us with a really powerful question to mull over. If the very rules designed to protect you can be rewritten by the government they're supposed to limit, then what truly makes a right fundamental at all?